Hey, it's Jeffrey Howard from Mastermind Mentor International. Thank you for being here for Finish Strong Friday, #FSF. We're going to get started here in just a minute, but before we do, please click the like button, click the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, and you might want to hit that notifications button, that little bell. It's going to give you an update every time we upload a new video so that you can stay up to date with what we do here. Finish Strong Friday is all about mindset. 90% of your success or failure falls right here between your ears, right? So we're giving you strategies, not just of positive thinking, which is all great, not just powerful tools and affirmations, which are all great, but actual tools for productivity, for mindset strategy, and things that you can do to stay on track and stay focused and stay motivated as an entrepreneur. So we're going to get started right now in exactly 7 seconds. Here we go.
7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are launched for Finish Strong Friday, #FSF. Welcome to Finish Strong Friday, and if you haven't been here before, my name is Jeffrey Howard, and I am a peak performance coach and biohacker and a bunch of other fun stuff. And there's Eric now. You know, one of the things that we're going to talk about today, actually the thing we're going to talk about today is possibly the most significant, maybe the best possible thing that you can do for yourself as an entrepreneur. And so I'm going to just let everybody kind of settle in on the line a little bit here. In any case, look, on Finish Strong Friday, again, for those of you who may not be familiar, we do these trainings every Friday with very few exceptions. And the goal here is to show you mindset tricks, hacks, things that you can do to really, you know, just enhance your game, really raise yourself up on peak performance levels across the board. You know, we do focus a lot on strategy in mindset as opposed to just positive thinking and affirmations and things like that, which are all fantastic. I mean, we use those all the time as part of our processes. So what we want to give you, our goal is to, at the end of every session, for you to be able to go away with something that's going to make sense for you, that you're going to be able to work on and to be able to implement in your life immediately. Eric, let me toss it over to you for a second, do a quick intro, and let's get this show on the road. I haven't even unveiled what we're talking about yet because I'm making.
Okay. Well, hey, glad you guys are all here. My name's Eric Jacobson. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, sunny, beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota, and I am excited to be here. I am a lifelong entrepreneur. Started my first company back almost 30 years ago now, and just been kind of a serial entrepreneur, doing a lot of different things over those years, and excited to be here, excited about this particular training because it's something I need. And well, I mean, it's something everybody needs, and it's a big factor, and people that perform at a high level understand it and get it, and actually are all over it, and most people aren't. So
yeah, this is exactly, or most people are horribly misinformed about it.
Yeah. So super excited about this training. Let's jump into it. Let's do it.
Okay. So let me ask you, before I actually unveil this, let me ask you guys who are here live with us on the, and by the way, if you don't know where the chat is, there should be a little yellow bubble that's popped up at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on a phone, it's been popping up on your phone. And if you click on that, you'll see the chat thread. I want to just ask everybody, what do you think we may be talking about today? The most important thing that you can have in your entrepreneurial routine. I just want to see if anybody's got any guesses at what we plan to talk about today. I bet it's not the most obvious thing. Curiosity, daily action. Let's see what else we get. Health. Okay, this is in that realm of category. Yep, absolutely. Anybody else? Consistency, also good. Okay, and actually we're going to talk about consistency in this context. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so this may come as a bit of a surprise, but what we're going to talk about today is sleep. We're going to talk about sleep and its effect on the mind, the body, the brain, your actual brain health, your productivity, and how you can hack your sleep so that you can do more of all the things that are important to you and do it with more energy, with more productivity, with more focus. You know, sleep is, I think, singularly the most important thing you have to do to improve your health, yes, to improve your brain, yes, but also your productivity in business. And shockingly, 40% of Americans get less than 5 hours of sleep per night. Now, let me just ask you guys, I'm going to ask a lot of questions here. So who, type in the chat yes, or type me, actually type in the chat me if you have trouble sleeping or if you typically get less than, say, 6 hours of sleep. Anne, okay, Anne's a me. Okay, I'm going to guess that almost everybody has this issue from time to time. Yep. Lonnie says me, M3. Me to the third power. Okay, so there's a lot of things, a lot of factors involved. Yeah, it's just about everybody. When you get to a certain age, let's say about above 35, 40, as your human growth hormone begins to deplete and deteriorate, as different factors in your body start to deteriorate, you also start to have issues with sleep if you're not doing specific things about it. You know, it's been said that sleep is the most important predictor of how long you'll live, actually, more important perhaps than smoking, exercise, or high blood pressure, if you can believe that. There was a study showing that people getting less than 6 hours of sleep were 12% more likely to die over a 25-year period than people getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Chronic sleep loss contributes to health problems such as weight gain, high blood pressure, heart disease, and a decrease in the immune system's power. And in other words, we need sleep. You know, we need a good amount of sleep. And we were told as kids, we grew up, you know, saying you got to get your 8 hours in. You don't necessarily have to get 8, but maybe you need 10. Maybe you need at least 6. And most people think they can get away with less, especially high performance entrepreneurs, people who are really pushing to be at the highest performance level of their game. They somehow convince themselves that sleep is not for them. Like, I can get by on 3 hours. I can get by on 4 hours. And yeah, you can do some things to your system to sort of fake your way through that, but you're also going to burn your adrenals out. And there's a lot of things that are going to happen on a physical level that are going to be a problem for you.
Well, there's been some different entrepreneurial trainers that have been out there. One in particular, Gary Vaynerchuk, is you know, his whole thing, you know, initially, or you know, was, you know, hustle, you know, outwork everybody, you know, put in the extra time, you know, do whatever it takes to make it happen. But more recently, he talks about this subject actually quite a bit, and just says how important it is for himself to get enough sleep, you know, to get to sleep at night, to be consistent with the sleep. And these are some of the hacks that we're going to talk about today that are going to help you to, you know, be at your best, right? And be the best you can possibly be. Really, that's at the end of the day, that's what we're all looking to do, right? Yeah.
And you know what I love most about, you know, the real top performers in the peak performance area, whether it's biohackers or entrepreneurs, or usually biohackers are entrepreneurs. But I love how, like, most of these guys, their egos aren't so big that they can't come back and say, you know what, I got this wrong. You know, this is what I used to think for years and years. This is what I thought. This is what I practiced. This was the conventional wisdom. This is the way I, you know, put it out into the world. And now coming back saying, you know what, I was wrong. And we need to do things differently. So I appreciate that about Gary and a lot of other people too. In the last, you know, 5-10 years, I mean, we are learning so much about the brain, the body, sleep patterns, you know, ways to, you know, sort of nutritionally hack, as well as just good habits to be in. So let's first break down and examine, why aren't you sleeping well in the first place? So, you know, and by the way, I always want to encourage everybody to take notes, you know, grab a pen and paper, jot down the key takeaways for you that you can apply in your life, because, you know, you keep stuff in a journal, you keep notes, you can come back, you can refer to it. So it's not gone 30 minutes later when you're trying to remember it. So let's just, let me just.
I can tackle this first one, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think this is probably the number one offender, you know, for most people, it's habits. A lot of our life is just built around habits. A lot of things we just do instinctively, and we don't put a cognitive thought into it. It's just something that we've been doing for a long period of time, and it's habitual. It's, you know, like smoking, you know, that's a bad habit. A lot of things, you know, we think about that we don't really think about, we just do in our life. And just having a bad habit of just going to bed too late. Really, that's just a habit. And believe me, if you're in the habit of going to bed super late, or not going to bed at all, or going to bed and not getting sleep, you know, sometimes it might be you're tired, and then you do something, you kind of work through that tired period, and then all of a sudden you're kind of,
You're
wired
up again.
again. So one of the big things is going to bed on time, right? So going to bed prior to 10 o'clock, one thing that my wife Mary is extremely vigilant on is actually shutting off all electronics, not watching the TV, shutting off everything, reading a book for an hour before she goes to bed, so that she can start kind of winding her mind down, so she's not thinking so much. And then the other thing is, caffeine all day long. Maybe if you're having trouble getting to bed or can't get yourself to sleep once you actually go to bed, maybe you're drinking more than you need to be as far as, coffee is concerned. Maybe 1 cup per day is fine. But if you start drinking coffee after noon or after 5 o'clock, everybody's got a time that if they taken caffeine after that time, it just wires them for the rest of the night. So
yeah, there's some hacks around that too. We can, I'll touch on, as we get further down the road here, but
yeah.
In this first section, really, this is just like what, these are the reasons why. We're going to give you a bunch of hacks for how to do better sleep in the later section here.
Okay.
But, I mean, the real, just short bullet points of why most people are just having really bad sleep is, obviously the habit of being out of routines, right? Maybe one day you go to bed at 10:30, maybe the next night you're going to bed at 2 a.m., getting up at all sorts of weird hours. So some of these things, like, they're going to seem counterintuitive, but we can talk about how you incorporate these things into your world, because not everybody is exactly the same. One of the other things too that contributes to poor sleep is adrenal fatigue, and we're all, we've all got some element of that happening. Between the lack of sleep, the fast-paced lifestyles, like Eric said, living on caffeine and sugar, you're fatiguing your adrenals. You're just kind of blowing yourself up. They produce stimulating hormones like adrenaline, cortisol, but they do it at the wrong times. Both of those, like cortisol's got a really bad rap, it's considered to be the stress hormone, but you actually really need it, but you need it to happen in the morning after a good night's sleep. But if you're having like the fight or flight happening, or you're dealing with this adrenal fatigue all day long, you're getting jolts of adrenaline, jolts of cortisol at the wrong times, and it keeps you from getting what you need, which is not just sleep, but quality sleep.
Yeah.
We all sleep.
Yeah. And the next thing is just bad foods, including gluten, sugar, processed foods, fast foods, stuff with a lot of seed oil. You start to develop these food disorder hormone in the gut and your brain that affects your brain function as well. And so, so that's one of the issues that we have, with that. And we're just kind of covering what the issues are right at this point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because a lot of things will light people up and you'll kind of have an aha moment, like, oh yeah, that could be it for me. Poor sleep environment. So, basically you need to set your cave up for hibernation, basically when you're going to bed. And we'll get into some specifics on how to do that. But, you want to sleep in a really dark room. You don't want to have a lot of light on. You don't want to have TVs on. You don't want to sleep in too warm of a bedroom. I think a lot of us have a tendency to, want to stay nice and toasty warm, but you're actually sleeping better if you sleep at a cooler temperature. So, or sleeping on, just really bad sleep, bedding material, scratchy sheets, uncomfortable pillows. Life's too short, guys. Come on. We can sleep. We're spending a third of our lives theoretically in a sleep state. Why not make it the best possible?
Yeah, and then I kind of touched on that gut bugs. So a lot of times the reason you're not sleeping is due to I'm not going to go into this stuff.
Well, look, gut health.
Parasites.
Gut health is really
a problem. We're often overlooked because of night
waking. Yeah,
night waking.
Wakes you up.
If I could read, that'd be better.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Jim.
Actually, you should take this first one because you were literally just talking about it this morning.
Yeah, all right. So what are the habits? So what are the biohacks that you can have for better sleep? So the first one is like be in bed by 10 p.m., right? Super tough one for a lot of people, right? Me included, especially if you, a lot of times when I shut things down mentally, when I switch out of work mode, which for entrepreneurs, that's a hazy area, right? It's like shutting, going from working to shutting it down. I like to kind of, what I do is I shut my computer off, I leave the office, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then usually what I do is I watch some kind of mindless television, just like
Junk TV.
yeah, junk TV to shut you down. But so just develop a habit of going to bed at the same time. If 10 o'clock's the time for you, that's great. But if you have the habit, if you're consistent with it, if you can be for your work schedule, and if you're an entrepreneur, typically you've got the works, you can control your work schedule, so you can set it up to go to bed at the same time. If you're consistent with the time you go to bed, then you're going to start being more consistent with your sleep quality. Your body is going to kind of work itself into a pattern. It's going to say, okay, it's time to shut down. I'm shutting down. It's time to go to sleep. And you're consistent. And people know that with like infants and toddlers, right? You're always,
like rigid about
really
schedules,
rigid about that. We were, when Joey's a kid, we were so rigid about going to bed, on time, and then we become adults, and then we stop thinking about it. But anyways, you had something to add about
yeah, well, and this actually, Nicole just asked the question, well, now what do you do if you work at night? How do you get enough sleep? Well, that's one of the things I wanted to address too. I've been a musician my whole life, right? So, and even when I was a kid, before I even started playing, I always had a tendency to want to stay up later. And so my system is kind of set on a late night schedule still to this day. Now there's some truth in the fact that your body creates a surge of cortisol after 11 p.m. But to say that this is true for everyone is like saying we all have the same biology. We don't have all the same biology. That's what's so interesting about biohacking to me, is that you're using your life, your experience as the marker. So for me, like I'm very consistent, reasonably consistent with when I go to bed, and reasonably consistent with when I get up in the morning. So I go to bed between 12 and 1. I get up between 7:30 and 8:30 typically, some variation in there. And that works really well for me. So you can adjust it to your schedule. But again, if you're consistent, your body will make those adjustments. So your 11 o'clock cortisol shift will happen, a little bit later. And I'm going to get into some other stuff too of how you can specifically address your issue, Nicole, in just a minute. So the second thing on the list, and by the way, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of biohacks you can use for sleep and for pretty much everything in your life. But, these are just a few that we think are important. So avoid exposure to a large level of light at night. So light exposure, especially the wrong kind of light. We're specifically really talking about the kind of light you typically experience at night, right? It's not sunlight, it's TV light, it's phone light, it's, screen light of various sources. Sometimes even the lights in, fluorescent lights, if you have those, or even a typical incandescent light bulbs are not necessarily really, really healthy for you unless you're using a natural type of light. So really avoid exposure to any bright lights for 2 hours prior to bedtime. So your body's going to be cued to start producing melatonin. You can reduce melatonin output by 50% by having too much exposure to light. So basically just keep things dim things down. There's a lot of discussion in the biohacking community now about, if you have to be on screens, well, use blue blocker glasses, use filters. You can use apps and filters on your phones. A lot of phones have, we talked about this a little bit last week, a lot of phones actually have the blue light filter built into them now. You can just put it in your display settings. So there's a lot of ways to do this. And then also a lot of the biohackers are talking about, if they have to be on a computer, use the blue blockers, but also have red lights. Like put a red light bulb in. So it's kind of like sunset light. It's warmer light, sunrise or sunset light. You want to expose yourself to more of that.
But so ideally, the ideal would be to just shut it down. Shut it down for a period of time. 1 hour is what kind of we focus on in our house, but 2 hours is that's the ideal. 2 hours, it's enough time to, for your body to queue up and start producing the melatonin it needs to produce high quality sleep for you, so that you get high quality sleep.
Yeah.
So
the next one is, it kind of blends into the same thing, and it will, and I'll help you to answer the question that you asked, Nicole, is sleep in complete darkness. So if you're doing like a graveyard shift, you're working at night and you're getting out in the morning, obviously you're kind of throwing off your body's natural circadian rhythms. So what you want to do is there's lots of things you can do. You can get blackout drapes for your room. If that way, you want to just keep yourself in complete darkness when you're sleeping. You're basically, this goes back to like caveman biology, right? It goes back to the genetics of, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Our eyelids are translucent for a reason. It was designed to perceive light, wake us up in the morning. So now we don't necessarily have all those options. Even a small amount of light in the middle of the night, even from whether it's from night lights or, like I said, TVs or whatever you might have running in the room, it can really disrupt your circadian rhythms and your sleep quality. So you can create darkness. You can also use a sleep mask. I was actually looking at some of these today, and I'm actually looking for a sleep mask that's got a built-in headphones in it, because personally, I guess maybe the years in the music business, standing in front of Marshall stacks and whatnot, I have a little minor case of tinnitus. It's really hard for me to sleep in total silence because my ears are ringing a little bit. And also I hear everything going on. So I always have some kind of sound happening typically, and we'll get into what you can do with sound. But yeah, so get yourself a sleeping mask that creates darkness, like a blindfold almost. And,
Mary's been using a sleeping mask here for a couple of years, and I've and she does it because she does work sometimes late at night. She does work sometimes very, very early in the morning, and her schedule kind of bounces around. So it allows her to make sure that she's got darkness when she's sleeping. That's a big issue. Yeah, it's a really big deal because a lot of us don't have it, and or else, you may go to bed in the dark, but if you want to sleep until 8, the sun's up at 6, obviously you got light coming in the room. So this is a really big deal. This will make a huge difference. And it's one of the things that's really inexpensive to do. I mean, you can get a great sleep mask with a great set of headphones in it if you want for like $25. So, it's not like it's, a big investment to do these things. I think I'm going to try the sleep mask, actually.
Yeah, I am.
So the next thing is daytime light exposure. So just making sure you get yourself outside and in the sunlight for a period of time during the day. Jeff and I are huge on this. This is like a necessity, like water for both of us. To get outside, to get into nature, and it helps you improve your sleep, because if you're working nights, you're going to be up during a period of time. So make sure you get outside and get yourself, at least 30 minutes of exposure to light. You don't have to be sunbathing. You don't have to be in your bikini out there sitting in the sun, but like just some exposure to light. Light is just so good for you. The more that they study it, the more they realize there's just so much that is good for us as humans to be in the light.
Sunlight, yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. So the next one I just touched on a little bit, and we're going to call it create your cloud. Like, you're going to sleep on a cloud. Imagine just falling asleep on a cloud. I think this is something that's so easy to control, and people just don't cheap out on your bedding, guys. Don't buy the cheap stuff. You're going to be, like I said, you're going to be spending a third of your life in that bed. Get the great mattress. Get the, gel pillow top, or test things out. Don't just go buy something based on price, or don't just, it's nice when you can get some of those mattresses. These days, mattress and sleep is such a big, big market. They're letting you have a mattress.
100-day trial. Yeah,
exactly. Sleep on it. And if it doesn't work, they'll come back and take it out for you. But little things too, like if you have a mattress that you're okay with right now, your sheets, get the thread count, man. Get the 650, 800, 1,000 thread count organic cotton sheets. Get the pillow that just hugs your head. And you got to test this stuff. Anything else in the biohacking, or even in the marketing world, we test everything, right? We make adjustments accordingly, but we don't do it for ourselves. But a lot of the sheets that you just buy over the counter that are inexpensive, they're made with pseudo fabrics. They're not, like man-made fabrics. They're not natural. They've got formaldehyde and all kinds of junk in them. And they're like permanent pressed, and, it's just sticky and scratchy, and it's like sleeping on cardboard. So, give yourself a break. Make it easy for yourself to fall asleep. And you should also change your mattress every 5 to 10 years. I know that seems like,
I'm due, man. I'm due.
oh yeah, long overdue. I can't imagine.
I feel like leaving this meeting and going on straight
Yeah,
out.
right. Change your pillows. Here's a big one. Change your pillows every 6 months to a year. It's not just that they wear out. In fact, that's the least of the problems. Eric didn't want to get into all the gut health, whatever, but skin cells, bacteria, perspiration, all these things that are developed while you're sleeping, these all soak into your pillows and affect your health and then, cause you to be sleepy during the day.
Cool. So the next thing is number 6 is reduce your body temperature, right? So ideally sleeping temperatures between 60 and 68. Now everybody's got their own different, ideal of what's best for them. But in general, if you can reduce your body temperature by taking a cooler bath, that's one thing you could do. Even though the bath heats you up, the cooling of your body temperature afterwards makes you sleepy. So if you think of your internal temperatures, 98 degrees, and have your room temperature set at a lower, temperature overall, that is going to make you more comfortable. And that's an issue at my house because my wife is always cold and I'm always hot. That's what covers it for, I guess. Yeah. So, and one thing I do love is I love Epsom salt baths. I mean, take a cup of Epsom salt, put it in your bath. The magnesium, it's going to relax your muscles. It's going to induce sleep. It's relaxing. It's therapeutic, and it's guaranteed to give you a trip to La La Land. But I'm reading that off a sheet, but I truly do believe that. I mean, I do take Epsom salt baths. I normally, if I'm really sore from a workout, that's when I'll do it typically.
It's great for detoxing through your skin too in a bath. It's really, really great for that. And you mentioned that it triggers magnesium, which helps to relax your muscles. And also magnesium and calcium before bedtime also will help you to get into a better sleep state. And there's a lot of things you can do from a supplement side. I mentioned human growth hormone, which is what gets excreted from the pituitary when you're sleeping. There's ways that you can enhance that. I'm not going to get into details, but you're welcome to reach out to me to talk about that. Eric and I we're part of launching a company last month that is in the CBD space. It's actually a CBD chocolate. A lot of people are having great results with CBD for sleep because it reduces anxiety. It causes relaxation. It increases melatonin production, does a lot of great things for hormones. I mean, there's just a million things across the board. So, there's lots of ways that you can enhance and supplement how you're going to sleep and then get into that deeper state of sleep. The next thing on our list here is to minimize EMF or electromagnetic fields. That's pretty much everything electric around you. So try pulling things away from you. And we've talked about this a lot. Sometimes it's challenging to not have the cell phone completely in a different room or something, or a few rooms away. Moving a computer out or a TV out of the bedroom, just keeping things that run off electricity away from the bed as much as you possibly can.
Interesting. I like that. Food timing. So not eating, and this is big for weight loss. This is big for a lot of reasons. Don't eat within 3 hours before you go to bed. And that's difficult one for me because I on my mindless watching of TV, I'm sometimes mindlessly snacking on something, while I'm doing that. I'll get hungry while I'm watching a show. And then that's absolutely the worst thing that you can do is to be eating in front of electronics of any kind, because what happens is you go into just this meditative state where you're just going like this, over and over and over, and you're not keeping track of what you're eating. You end up eating way past full. And in general, if you can stop that. But in regards to sleep, if you just try to make your last meal between 6 and 7 p.m. and just do not, don't eat anything past then. You can drink water, that's fine. But
that's assuming you're going to bed at 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Assuming you're going to bed at 10. Yeah.
I do something a little different just to the people who need to make that adjustment. Like I said, I go to bed, sometimes most of the time between 12 and 1. Usually it's been pushing right around 1 o'clock lately. And I am also on a intermittent fasting program. So basically, I'm doing 16 hours of fasting, an 8-hour eating window, which is a pretty loose fast. And it's, to be honest, it's pretty easy. So my window is from like 1 to 9 to be eating, but I'm not going to bed for at least 3 hours after that. So, you can make adjustments to these programs.
I'm doing intermittent fasting right now. I haven't been very on it, but I'm trying to right now. I'm trying to do a 20-hour fasting cycle and a 4-hour eating window. So my eating time is between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. And just 2 meals in there is what I'm doing with that at this point. So
cool. Well, like we always say, you got to do what works for you, but you don't know what works for you until you experiment with a few things. It's always a good idea too to keep a journal of what's happening. What's your experience. I mean, when it comes to sleep, I mean, it's a lot of us are wearing these now. We got these, mine's a Fitbit. Eric's got his Apple Watch. There's a lot of different ways that you can track. And I went back and started tracking. I've actually, every time I make a change in something that's designed to help me to sleep, I go back and I start to copy and paste the graph I get from Fitbit every day so I can look at the difference. Like something that I've been doing very recently has helped me to move into deeper, longer states of REM sleep and longer states of deep sleep. And less of the awake time. And it's really interesting. So, you've got to kind of track this stuff and understand what's really happening. And it's not just doing it for a couple of days to see. You've got to do it, at least for a week. Whenever you make any change, at least do it for a week and measure what's happening and see what else you might need to adjust. The next thing on our list, let's just talk about caffeine and alcohol. These are the next two things, caffeine and alcohol, two big things in a lot of people's lives. Again, a lot of people break this rule. There's a lot of caffeine consumption in this country, whether it's between, coffee, teas, energy, quote unquote, energy drinks, which are basically just sugar and caffeine bombs that are horrible for your body. That's one of the reasons our adrenal system's blowing up. I mean, caffeine is actually a really good thing. It's a nootropic. It helps your brain to function. But if you dump tons of like half and half and sugar and other garbage into it, it makes it a problem. Now, I actually break this rule. It says what they're saying here is don't do anything after 2 p.m. In terms of having coffee. I will have coffee, but I use a different type of coffee. I use bulletproof coffee. Bulletproof coffee is actually more of a brain stimulant. It takes the jittery edge off the caffeine. It helps you to process the caffeine in a more positive, like a more effective way in the body. And it's really simple. It's not a special product. I mean, there's a guy who developed it, who is the Bulletproof brand, but you can make bulletproof coffee with your regular coffee. It's basically, you're eliminating the heavy cream. You're replacing it with grass-fed butter. So for a cup of coffee, or like an 18-ounce, what I do, a 12-ounce cup of coffee is what I do. 12-ounce cup of coffee, I do a tablespoon each of organic coconut oil and grass-fed butter. Grass-fed is key, okay? Not just necessarily organic, but it's got to be grass-fed. Okay, so you'll see in the grocery store the distinction. And then I add just a little bit of stevia to it, just for a little mild sweetener that doesn't add sugar. And then I always, when I was a bigger coffee drinker, I always drank mochas. So what I do now to get that little sort of loose chocolatey vibe is I use cacao nibs, which is basically just unprocessed raw cacao. And I blend that in. You put this all in a blender and you blast it in a blender. Right. I actually put a little bit in my coffee beans and grind it into the mix too. So that's got some really great health benefits. Some of the really positive antioxidant benefits of dark chocolate, for example, but it also gives it a nice extra flavor. And then as far as alcohol goes, I mean, you really just need to avoid alcohol before bed. You have to, if you want to rehab your sleep, you got to rehab your alcohol consumption. And I mean, it may feel like it helps you to relax and fall asleep faster, but the metabolic process of clearing it out of your body causes a withdrawal period that's significant enough to disrupt your sleep. So remember, not all sleep is good sleep. And, having a few drinks before you go to bed, you may drop out into conk out into unconsciousness. But if you track your sleep pattern, you're going to see that you're not in the right sleep patterns. So again, 2-3 hours before bedtime, you want to stop drinking whatever you're drinking.
Yeah, and I just wanted to chime in that Anne made a couple of really good comments here. She talked about, she used the chill pad. You're talking about staying cool at night.
Just hearing about that this morning.
Yeah, that's a great comment. She also uses cinnamon in her
Oh,
coffee. And cinnamon
I
is
do too.
excellent.
Forgot about that.
What's that?
I do too. I forgot about that. I use cinnamon. Just a little dash of cinnamon really makes it.
Yeah, cinnamon is really, really good for you. Also, it has a lot of positive qualities to it. And then she said alcohol raises blood sugar levels that can also wake you up. After you've gone unconscious initially.
That chill pad, I really want to give that a shot. I was listening to a podcast or watching a video or something this morning. It was Ben Greenfield that was talking about that. He's like a biohacker trainer guy. He's actually really, really sharp. If you get a chance to go check out a video where he did an interview or he did a speaking engagement for Mind Valley. If you search on YouTube for Mind Valley and Ben Greenfield, here, I'll type it in. Mind Valley and Ben Greenfield. That was really, really good. It had a bunch of, biohack shortcuts and a bunch of things I didn't know. And I've been studying this stuff for a while. Okay, the last thing. You want to take the last one?
Yeah, sleep apps. Actually, and I've used this one at times. I'm not using it right now, but I think I'm going to start using it again right now. It's called my favorite iPhone, and it's my favorite. It says it on the sheet. Also my favorite. It's called Sleep Cycle. And Sleep Cycle, it uses your internal microphone on your phone. And to use it, what you have to do is you in order to use it, you have to set an alarm with Sleep Cycle, and then you actually put the phone. What I would do is I would actually tuck it under my mattress so that it wouldn't knock it off or something like that during the night. And then it uses your internal microphone on your phone to determine if you're waking up during the night. So it tracks your sleep cycle, and you can see, in the rhythm how your cycles are working all night long. And then what it does is it wakes you up. Like if you need to get up at 6 a.m., it starts the alarm process at the top of your sleep cycle. So as you're coming out of your heavy REM sleep, it starts that alarm as much as 30 minutes earlier than when you actually need to get up. And it's very, very gentle in how it wakes you up. So it's really, really helps you with your baseline sleep quality, knowing exactly what you're doing. So, in this article, he talks about using that at least once a week. It's really pretty addicting once you use it, but make sure when you do this, we just talked about having all your electronics out of your room. All you have to do is you have to put your phone on airplane mode. If you put your phone on airplane mode, then all of the Wi-Fi settings are shut off, and it's not going to be cooking your brain with EMFs.
That's great stuff. There's a lot of really cool apps out these days. We've talked about a piece of technology that we have available as well that you can choose brainwave states. You can do binaural beats. You can look for either sound or videos with sound and use binaural beats with headphones. You want to be looking for things that put you in the delta brainwave state, which is between 1 and 3 hertz. The delta is the brainwaves that are being produced when you're sleeping, and when you replicate those with binaural beats, then it can help you to drop off and go into a deeper level of sleep and stay in that deeper sleep. Different types of music. There's a lot of ways. I like I said earlier, I can't really do complete silence. So I like to use, I have one called Brain FM, an app called Brain FM, where you can choose for different times of day, for meditation, for sleep, even for focus, you can, choose up different things. So, there's a lot of stuff out there these days. The technology, we have the technology. We can make you better than before.
Yeah. Well, the thing I do, Jeff, I have the same issues as you. I have slight ringing in the ear from my loud music listening all my life. And I run a fan, in the room is what I do. I just make sure, and then I usually open a window, and then.
Or white noise is good.
Little bit of noise, that.
Sleep next to an ocean if you can.
Yeah. Sleep next to an ocean. I recommend it to everybody.
That's always good. Okay, guys. Well, there's I think we gave you 11 different hacks. There's a lot of different ones. We kind of slipped a few others in there. If any of you have any interest in learning more about some of the things that we do on a personal level, or some of the things that we talked about that we didn't get into details or provide references for, you can reach out to, most of you know how to reach out to us individually, or you can put a comment in here and we'll see it. Just, tag us in it so we can see it. Oh, actually can't do it here. We're not on Facebook. When we repost the replay, which I'll try to get done faster than I did last week, then we'll get it that way. But yeah, that's all we've got here on this topic. Look, I just cannot emphasize enough how important sleep is to the process. And if you've been trying to convince yourself, or if you've been in a state of false belief that, your 4 hours of sleep that you're getting is punching you through and making you optimal performance because you have 20 hours in the day to do other things besides sleep, you might want to rethink that. You might want to sleep on it. Sleep on that one.
We'll start with consistency, right?
Yeah, exactly. Number one.
Develop something, and just, and even if you're having a hard time getting yourself to go to sleep at an earlier time, at least get yourself into bed and start doing that as quickly as you can.
So, all right, well, that's it, guys. Look, do your own research on this too. Be your own experiment. Go ahead and just knock yourselves out, literally. There's just a couple of things you can do that you can start with that will keep you, in a good rhythm, and you'll see it'll make a big difference in your productivity. It'll make a big difference in how you feel. It'll make a big difference in your longevity and overall health. And the funny thing is that when, you don't know until you do it that you've been missing it. Because you get so used to things the way they are, we're so conditioned to what we've been doing for so long that it's like when pain goes, if you have a chronic pain and all of a sudden it's gone, you're like, oh my God, my life, this,
yeah,
the angels sing and the clouds part, and you just forget how much you get used to. So try these things out and apply these things in your life, guys, and go out and be productive. Go kill it on your Friday, Finish Strong Friday, #FSF. That's it for us. We are out of here. You guys have a fantastic weekend.
Finish strong.
Take care.
Make
Talk
it
to you
happen.
soon.